should be not muted. Okay. I wasn't muted before. I forgot to mute today. But I did figure out the issue I was having with the mic disappearing. It's really stupid, but hi. Hold on. I need to do one more. I'm like kind of rusty. I'm a little late today. Cuz I forgot I had to switch everything from YouTube to Twitch, and I forgot my Twitch password. Hi, Micro-Ice. Hold on a second. I missed your first message because the chat's being weird on my end. Oh, it's just the lurking emote. Okay, cool. Ah, there you go. Hi. Okay, today we're doing Pokemon. I don't know what I'm gonna do actually, because we just beat the 4th gym, and last stream we played with Jet. But I kind of rushed through a few areas, so I want to go back and talk to people and battle trainers. Hi, Corn. Hi. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. I'm also eating Pocky, because I had a small lunch today. So I would like to eat some Pocky. Okay. Where's my room? Hold on. My other room. There we go. Just gonna turn off the Christmas music. And desktop is muted? Okay. We're all good. Hi. I feel like we haven't done this in a while. But that's because I was sick for a while, so. Actually, I think there's something I want to do. Hold on a sec. Hold on. Okay, so I have another game, right? I have Diamonds on my other Switch. I'm glad it all sounds good. And I think I need to trade between the two. So yeah, we're gonna do some of that. Also, thank you, Quern, for liking my. I just saw that. Okay. I gotta do it from the other Switch. It's good because it's local. You don't have to worry about it. How's everyone doing today? Are we all good? I'm good. So yeah, so the microphone issue I was like having was basically when I would delete it from one scene, it would delete from everywhere. Rogue Mage! Ah, thank you for the raid! Oh my god! Hi, hello. I'm Pyro Lily. Oh, too many emotes, I can't see. Ravenous Christy! Welcome to the Pyro Pack, thank you for the follow. I am a dinosaur VTuber. Hello, my name is Pyro Lily. You can call me either Pyro or Lily. Dizzy and Bound, welcome to the Pyro Pack. Glad to have you. Ooh. Okay, now we see both. Yeah, I forgot. I stream things. Doma, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Pyro Pack. Can we get a shout out, Corn? Rawr! Can we get a shout out, please? Okay, hold on. Raid. Over. Call. Trade. Alright, and then on my other Switch. Yeah. Let me. Thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate it. How was your stream? Homeless man. Welcome to the Pyro Pack. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I would like to trade. Add a bow to the model. Okay. Alright. Alright, y'all. It's time, huh? Oh my god, I need to put a cooldown on that. You guys are crazy. Ah. There we go. Okay. I totally forgot what I was gonna trade. Hold on a second. I think I need to trade. Let's see. I did a lot of the evolutions with Jet for my stream Pokemon game, but I need to trade Silcoon or Ascoon. Let's trade that. It begins, yeah. Trade it. Okay, cool. It's hard. I used to do this a lot. I didn't have friends that played Pokemon growing up. So I would use like, I think my dad, Pyro Dad had a DS. So I would use his DS and trade to myself. And it's a lot easier on the DS than it is on the Switch, let me tell you. It's a lot to navigate. Okay. Nice. Silcoon is the cocoon Pokemon. It drinks dew that collects on its silk while it waits for evolution. Its hard cocoon repels attacks. Oh, well, yeah. Let's see. Let me look through. Oh, the Feebas. I think I didn't actually. I got a Feebas from Jet the other day. Yeah, I did. I got this Feebas, but I don't know if I wanted to trade it just. I think that's the only. Oh no, that's not the only trade I want to do. Let's do. I don't know how my boxes are organized. Ah. Excuse me. I have to evolve something. I organized, so on both Switches, I organized my boxes similarly, but they're all in a different order, which is very confusing. Okay, we would like to trade this. I would really appreciate it if you typed with text, not just the emotes, because I don't know what the two arrows mean. Okay, so I'm trying to evolve my Alakazam, and then after that, I don't know, we might just evolve some Pokemon. I'm not really too picky. Yay! Kadabra. Nice. Although we already got our Alakazam in the Jet. Alakazam, yeah! Oh, also wait, do you have that Carnivine? You didn't tell me what you wanted. Okay, I think that's it for the trade. I would like to quit. Okay. Yeah, I was looking what I wanted. Yeah. Yeah. I won't trade you my starter or any of my legendaries. I will give you that. Okay. Gonna put that down, and now we explore. Now we do things. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So we haven't come across Cynthia yet. Yeah, so we still have to go in here. Oh, hi, hi, Dolby. How are you doing? Oh. I'm still eating my Pocky. Oh, wait, shoot. I forgot something. Hold on. Hold on. Where? There. I don't know where. I gotta move my phone for a sec. Where is the Pokemon team thing? See it. Oh, it's because I moved it off to the side. I'm like, why isn't that there? Okay, cool. I'm doing fine. I had a feeling this week was gonna be a good one. How about you? Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I'm glad to be streaming Pokemon again. But I also, like, I had plans, and then I got sick, so I completely forgot what I was gonna do. Hello there. Oh, okay, a few announcements. We have 2 new emotes. They are Lurk and Bonk. So you can properly bonk me. Move myself over. There we go. Properly bonk me. And I have opened emote commissions. I've opened emote commissions on Ko-Fi. I don't know if I put the link below, but my link tree is below. And the link tree has the okay. I like saying Ko-Fi. Apparently it's Ko-Fi. Ugh. Appropriately used. Yeah, totally. That was appropriate use. I don't mind the spammed emotes. But... okay. Although, let's... for the time being... Unk. I have to collect all of my berries, so let's do that. Let's start... oh, wait, is my tail blocking? Yeah, let's start. Start over here. Let's start here. I mean, it's to buy people coffee. I know, but you could say I have a coffee. And then I had this discussion with a few people. Jet believes me. It's supposed to be Ko-Fi. I don't care what the creators of it say. It's supposed to be Ko-Fi. Because it's confusing if you say you have a coffee. Because then it's like, oh, you're drinking a coffee? It's like, no, I have a coffee. Doesn't make any sense. Not at all. I really should get on with the story. I want to fool around in this game. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do, actually. No! No. Okay. I want my free berry. You're looking a little bowless today, it seems. Oh my god. Since today's not the Among Us stream, I can actually, like, take time and place. There we go. You guys are gonna waste all of your point. It's such a temporary thing. And yet you love it so. Dun, 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 dun. Milk! I don't know why you guys like that one either. Wasting points couldn't be me. Yeah, totally not you. Milk! I made that too cheap. Milk! You guys are gonna hurt my throat. Milk! Come on! Come on! It's so rude. You know what I'm gonna do? Oh, hydrate and slurp? Thank you. Milk! Right. You guys are abusing this. You guys are abusing. Ada ada. You guys are abusing. Oh my god. Do you guys want me to play the game or not? Let's put a little bow there. To vibe out and play Pokemon. Ada ada. That one wasn't that good. This is what you get for spamming. Hold on a sec. I need to write something down. Streamer abuse, you guys. Complete and utter streamer abuse. Let's see. What time is it? I was at least a 5 out of 10. Still a function. Okay, fine. I'll do it again. Okay. Ada ada. No, I don't know. My throat hurts. It's hard to go deep. Oh my god. Hold on. Let me start the timer. Okay, so you wanted like a cutesy voice? Alright. I don't know why you guys bully me so much. It's so mean. Yo, are those mystery dungeon avatars? No, I don't think they are, but I'm not sure. Milk! I am now out of points. They go deep. It's the higher the better. Higher the better. I thought Ada Ada was supposed to be like sexy though. I thought it was supposed to be like a deep, womanly sexy. No, no, these sprites are from MD. Are they? But there are. How? But Reshiram is in there. I don't remember Reshiram in Redundant. Anyway, they're cool. I like the stream avatars. Oh, it's basically saying, oh my. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Anyway, I miss Mystery Dungeon. I like those games. I could play DX on stream. I think that would be fun. There we go. Oh, I see. They can be customized. Yeah. Now, save points for It's Not Like I Like You or anything. Oh, you haven't heard that one? Someone did it recently. It's not really redeemed that often. People don't really like that. I don't know why. It's like a cheap confession redeem. No. Yeah, I know most people who have streamed this game have already like finished and they're working on the National Pokedex, and I'm like, I'm halfway through and I'm just gonna ignore the main story. Do I have to say hit me at the end, or do you want me to say quern? Like what do you want me to say hit me at the end? I need to know. No, you just let me know, cause that I don't know. Oh, it's just say my name. Okay. I'm getting kind of embarrassed. Okay. It's not like I like you or anything, Quern. Oh god, now I'm actually blushing. Ah. Poggers? Why is that your response? Come on, guys. Ooh, we're out of picky berries. We just vibing. Yeah, you guys sure are vibing. Uh-huh. Mill! Vibe. Uh-huh. We're vibing plenty. Yeah, I trust you. I trust you. Mm-hmm. You might not be. We are. You're so mean. You're so mean to me. Not even thinking about the game now. That's okay. I love Pokemon. I was thinking about it. So I'm like a variety streamer, right? I talk about this a lot. I'm a variety streamer because I do a variety of content. Wait! Wait, why is the sad emote so squished? Hold on. Why is it so... Why was that so squished? I'm so confused. Wait. Why was it so squished? Wait, how did you do that? What? How did you... Why did you switch them? How did you do that? I don't... Is that like the modify a single emote thing? Yeah, Micro's hacking. Oh, okay. That's fine. Yeah. How much time? We have 4 minutes left. I like my bear. Oh, I can always tell when Mr. Dippity's around because it's just the Rayquaza is higher than everyone else. Don't bonk me. Why would you bonk me? I'm surprised a lot of people opt for the smaller stream avatars though. You know? Because I don't know, I feel like mine's bigger than most. So I have Volcarona. I feel like it's more powerful being big. There's a duck, so I'm right. You know what? That's fair. That is fair. Anyway, I completely got sidetracked. So I'm a variety streamer, right? Okay. Stop bonking me! What? that. This is abuse. This is streamer abuse. This is streamer abuse. Thanks for being so mean. Let's see more of these. I keep getting sidetracked on my brain. Annoying. Okay, yeah. I was thinking, I'm like, what if I only play Pokemon? Like I do a variety of like game dev, and I do Japanese on YouTube now, and I'm gonna maybe do art on YouTube. I don't know, but I was thinking like, what if I only play Pokemon? I would be happy with that. I would be satisfied. But I don't know. I think I might just keep it to cozy games. I'm gonna ignore that one berry. I could do a lot of stuff there. I like cozy games. I like RPGs and simulation games, but like JRPGs, I guess. Play all the games in 100%. So much Pokemon. I've 100%ed them, most of them, on my own already. It takes a long time. I don't think I want to do that again. I'm gonna use a cough drop though, because this voice makes my throat hurt. I got some JRPGs for you. No! You know the type of JRPGs I play. Damn, son, that's respectable and insane. Yeah, for a long time, Pokemon was the only game that I played. And then I found Rune Factory. And then I was like... Well, actually, I found Harvest Moon first. And then I was like, oh my god, I love this. And then I played Rune Factory, and I was like, oh my god, this is my favorite thing. And then I played Fire Emblem, and I was like, nah, this is my new favorite thing. But Pokemon, like, I feel like as, like, a franchise, Pokemon's my favorite franchise. My favorite game is Fire Emblem Three Houses, with a second favorite game being Rune Factory 4. So it's a lot of anime people, a lot of romance. Yeah, a lot of raising, I guess. I know, I'm so excited for Rune Factory 5. I've been waiting for so long. You have no idea. Waiting for so long. I could play Rune Factory 4 on stream. That'd be fun. Okay, I'm done. I can have my normal voice now. Yay. But yeah, if y'all if you're gonna spam... Wait, what? I don't want this. Oh, I already figured out what it is. God, my brain is empty. I don't know. Oh yeah, if you guys are gonna spam the channel point stuff, at least hydrate me. Keep me watered. It's not hydrating me. Milk! That's not hydrating. Yeah, but I only say the word. I don't drink it. Well, there's your mistake. I can't drink milk. My doctor told me to cut out dairy. Thank you. How many channel points were y'all sitting on? Yeah. You know, it is unfortunate. Oh, that was rude. Oh my god. At least you guys are better than Theo. Theo's saving up for the 100 bottles of beer on a wall. It's not a stream ender, however, it is a stream delayer. For sure. Yeah, all 100 bottles of beer and taking them down and passing them around. You're happy? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. like what else could I mean? Yes, all 100. Yes, all 100. Well, Theo's gonna save up for it, so you better hop into every stream and make sure you're there. Theo's like 50% there, I think. I am pretty sure. Yeah, it's really expensive. My eyes are glazing over. It's too early in the stream for that. I don't know, I feel like I'm out of practice from streaming, even though I streamed yesterday, but I feel like with Japanese it's a little different. I have to be entertaining for y'all. Apparently means being covered in bows. Can we transfer years? No, you cannot. Although, I feel like that would be cool. Well. I wanna move that up. There we go. I've been watching a lot of Fruits Basket lately. I'm like obsessed with it. I've watched. This is the new one, not the old one. I've rewatched the series in totality once, but I've watched the first season quite a few times. Same with the second season, and I'm like obsessed with it. And also, my Japanese is getting a little better from studying almost every day. Almost every day, like twice a week. I have to be studying every day. And like I'm really getting there. I can start like understanding things they say just out of context, which is really nice. Yeah. It is one of those shows though that like makes me cry every episode. I don't really know why I do it to myself, but like most of it's like happy tears. I guess it's like lots of trauma in that show. Oh, I didn't get a Pokeball up there. I need to get on that. The reason I keep talking to Mischievous is because occasionally Pokemon you walk with will give you berries, so I think that's pretty neat. You cry happy tears because people are experiencing trauma? No! No, it's because they experienced trauma in childhood and they're slowly getting over their trauma. That's why. That's why. I'm sorry, I did not explain that correctly. A lot of the trauma is like childhood, and then like over the course of the show, a lot of the characters figure out how their trauma affects them, and then they kind of overcome it. Yeah, no, I'm not evil. I'm not evil. No, it's happy tears because they get over their trauma. Yeah. Yeah, but some of the abuse happens in the, I guess, the current time in the show though, and that makes me cry sad tears. It's a it's not, the main character is very wholesome, but the show in its entirety I wouldn't say is, because you do see that you see the abuse in flashbacks, and it's not great. And it sounds bad, but it's a really good show. And also there's like I watch it for the romance. The main character falls in love by the end, and the guy she falls in love with is just, it's good. It's like he was misunderstood as a kid, and then he finds someone who loves him. It's just good. It's just good. It's a very good show. There's a reason that it has the remake. Because the original anime... Oh, I don't want to leave that out. The original anime was really short. It only covered, like, I don't know, a little bit of the manga? But the new one covers all of the manga, and the manga was really popular when it came out. You should watch it. It's good. Sometimes in my server you'll find me and Hood watching it. I've been watching ahead of him just because I binged it while I was sick. I know I have Pokemon that need to evolve with love. There we go. Yeah, oh, and it's like a slow burn too. So like they'll give you hints, but it's really cool because like, okay, so Toru is the main character, and she gets involved with a family called the Soma family, and she lives with 3 members of the family, Kyo, Yuki, and Shigure. So Kyo and Yuki hate each other, and and Kyo is especially hostile towards people in general. Oh, maybe I forgot to water those. But over time, he softens up. Like it's so... The writing is so good that, like, unless you're paying attention to it, you don't really notice. But over time, he softens up. It's like very organic. And I really like that. And same with Yuki. Yuki was like cold and like more distant instead of like aggressive at the beginning of the series, and by the end he can like smile like a normal person, and it's just like, ah, yes, my children, you're happy. Okay, we're gonna battle some people. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Also, I regret to inform y'all, this is the last week that we will have the bow redeem. I am sorry. It's a Christmas bow. We cannot have Christmas bows. Are you guys gonna start protesting? Oh my god, you guys are so funny. Okay, no, because these assets are Christmas bow assets, okay? Like, I'm not gonna put Christmas bows on my normal model. What? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. What? I'll level with you. I'll level with you what we can do. Also, Ovi, when did you sub? Wait. When did you sub? Thank you for the sub. I just realized you're using the emotes. I was like, wait, what? Okay. Oh, the Among Us stream. Okay. Oh, that stream was so chaotic. It was a blur. I don't remember anything from it except the bows at the end. Maybe I'll draw like a feather asset, and then you guys can put feathers on me. How about that? Ooh, Fiji. Fiji has some honey. Yeah, okay, maybe our feathers, good. I'm a dinosaur, I have feathers. Now let's just send out Pyro. I have feathers. We'll turn Lily into a chicken. I'm not a chicken! I don't, when you say yeah like that, it makes me think you think I'm wrong. Dinosaurs have feathers. I was alive back then. I know, they had feathers. Let's send... Ooey, boy. Okay, just making sure. Because some people don't believe me. And they're like... Actually, I'm a little salty about this. I see there's a group of dinosaur VTubers that I know a few of them on Twitter. I interact with them. But they always do collabs with each other that are like raptor collab or dinosaur collab. And I'm like, I know you guys know I exist. Invite me, goddammit. Don't consider me a dinosaur because I have feathers. Gross. To some extent. Yeah. I think Elfie told me that, I wasn't alive during the time of T-Rex. Different time period, than I was alive. But apparently T-Rexes had, feathers too. Apparently. I'm too powerful, yeah. Also, apparently, I'm never gonna get over this. My friend Sin Ostra, and that's the other part of her name? Sinova Ostra. She looked at my tail, she thought I was a squirrel VTuber, and I'm like, what squirrel has spiky teeth? Like, what? A lot of dinos have feathers, yeah. Not necessarily all of them. There's a time period where that was evolved over time, so all of the squirrels had feathers. Yes, you're correct. Let's battle an otaku. That's not an otaku. It's a dropper. Wait, I don't think we have one yet. Wait. Don't mind me moving my overlay. Milk! No teeth. Ah, blah, 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 blah. It's super effective. Let's just do Gust. I think that's a good idea. Yeah. I really like Draft Bag. I always have. It's one of the. It's a really cute Pokemon, but I feel like it doesn't get a lot of love. Like, I think people just forget it exists because it doesn't have an evolution. Thank you for the lurk, I appreciate it. Pyro, Dino, Chicken, Squirrel, Ham. No, I'm not a hamster! I'm not a hamster. Yeah, it's a good bean. Very good bean. Oh, yeah. This is like this is a bad idea, but I don't feel like battling this anymore. Hopefully we can catch it now. Ah, so close. Oh, rude. I wonder if we use slash. Ugh. Let's use that. That was a good idea. Now, I hope this doesn't crit. If it crits, Girafarig, go bye-bye. We're good. We're safe. Tired. I went to bed late last night. I was thinking, you ever just think about too many things and then stay up like hours that you did not intend to stay up for? That's what happened to me last night. So I'm really tired. I gotta get the honey from BG. A long neck Pokemon. While it sleeps, the head on its tail keeps watch. The tail doesn't need sleep. That's kind of scary. There was gonna be another evolution of Girafarig initially, and they took it away from us. That would have been cool. Already battled you, I think. Wait, I didn't even battle the trainer. There we go. We're battling the otaku. Oh god, all I want to do is watch Roots battle. Ah! Has anyone been watching any cool anime lately? I don't even know what's out this season. I just rewatch the same shows over and over again. Hi, Charles! Wait. Oh, today's Tuesday. I was like, I thought Monday you work, but it's not Monday. I mean, you work on Tuesdays too. Hello, hello. Let's keep battling. Go. I don't even know how Mischievous evolves. I think it might be a Duskstone, but I kind of like it like that. Almost done with peak season. Yeah, yeah. And then you can come back. You can hang out with us more. Yeah. Once your peak season has ended. Well, I mean, okay, wait. But doesn't peak season typically, like, end around New Year's? Because all of the late packages. Right? Like, aren't you, like, not home? Doesn't it, like, go over Christmas? I don't know how it works. Better than I would, but... They're my favorite Pokemon. Well, your favorite? Oh, back to half days soon. Okay. BG's evolving! Crazy. I gotta change this. Yay! BG is evolved into a Vespiquen. Yay! The Beehive Pokemon. When it is in danger, grubs from its 6-cell honeycomb strike back. There's only one in a colony. Milk! Pass. Okay, the issue is I use Sweet Scent a lot to catch Pokemon. Oh well. Oh, you're probably right, but at least the schedule will be back to normal. That's good. Yeah. There most certainly would be a lot of catch-up volume, yeah. I know Quern ordered gifts this year. I will call you out. I ordered mine on time. Early, even. I'm a good dinosaur. Although I have to write Christmas cards. I keep forgetting to do that. I got cute little stationery specifically for it. Let's just go with this. I don't really care. Mischievous hasn't lost a battle yet, so we're probably fine. Probably fine. That was just defense, right? Not special defense? Well, I guess we'll find out. Okay. It was just defense. That's why you should pay attention. That's a downer. Yeah, that was a downer. Okay, wait. I like Pokeball. Dun, dun, dun. You know, as much, I really do like the Christmas model, but as much as I do, I'm excited to go back to my old model. Mostly because the rigging is better on my old model. I actually edited it in Unity, but I forgot to apply the same things to this model, and I just haven't gotten around to it. Okay, I gotta be really careful. I hope we crit. That would make my life a lot easier. Oh. I gotta get comfy. Oh no. No, I'm not gonna risk it. Let's bring out boy. I think one of the reasons I'm procrastinating a little bit on the story here is I know Cynthia is like really scary, and I'm not good at battling, so I feel like once we get to the Elite Four, it's gonna be not good. Cause like I want an authentic experience, but at the same time, what I usually do is just level up my Pokemon like at least 10 levels above the champion, and then just completely obliterate the. That's my go-to. Yeah. Oh, gotta go to sleep. I don't know why I chose bite. That's not what I should have chosen at all. I'm not really paying attention. Yeah, I'm really excited for Legend of Arceus. It's a mainline Pokemon game, but it's different. Although I really like the style of normal Pokemon games, which is why I love the franchise. And I'm glad they're experimenting, it's good. But I worry that if it's really popular, I know it's a little selfish, I worry that if it's really popular, they're just gonna stick with that model, I guess. I'll observe it first before I get it. Well, I'll be streaming it when I get it. So you can observe it on my channel. I was about to say shameless plug-in, but this is my channel. I'm allowed to do what I want. Now I can use bite. Now bite is a good idea. Oh, wait, I still have more Pocky. Oh. Well. I have these, like, really tiny bags of Pocky, so I grabbed 2 of them. Because they only have, like, 7 sticks in them each, and it's a crime. I gotta eat that. The last crumb. And then open my second bag. Oh, nice, we got 2 level ups. Oh, it'd be funny if I ended up not getting it, because it would be the complete opposite of what I planned with that. Oh, yeah. Okay. What does gravity do? Well, I know what gravity does, but... no, I don't care about this. I'm not really a battler. Kadabra. I think I can actually challenge the 5th gym, so I might do that. Before continuing with, like, the actual story. I think I've battled all of the trainers now. Ooh, Big Root, that's a good one. Okay. We lost her key. I know where the key is, but we need Rock Slide to get it. Let me heal up my Pokemon. Good idea. Yeah. I love double battles, like I can't not. Yeah. Although I feel like Mischievous should have... Oh, I need to sell these. Magnemize. Oh, do I not have an amulet? I did. Well, Bidoof has a Quick Claw. Should go to Star, I think. Ah, yes, I do have an amulet coin. I like money. Yeah, we're just gonna ignore the story. I haven't even finished it in my personal at all. I think that's good. God, I love Pocky. It's so tasty. Tiffany on too. It's hard though, because when I make a team in this game, I'm always like, I'm gonna have a Luminion, right? And every time I'm like, but my Lotic exists. It's really sad. Because I love Luminion, I just like my Lotic more. So I never end up using it. Not like that's gonna do anything. Oh, okay, I'm done with my Pocky now. Time to take a drink. Okay. Nice. Yeah, it's 5 hours. I'm so tired. Wait, Machop and Bidoof. Oh. And do that. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I feel like I don't have the patience for just battling in here. Ooh, bronzer. X. Slash. Okay. La la. Dun, da, da, da. Dun, dun. This game's really. I mean, I feel like people don't call Pokemon games relaxing. But I'm vibing. Oh, add a bow? Okay. Sorry if I didn't see that. I'm a little vibed out. Yeah. Ah! Weird. What? Fine. There we go. Nothing wrong with a bit of vibing. It is vibe time. I would say Pokemon's relaxing if you're not doing a challenge run. Yeah, I am not, in fact, doing a challenge run. So you're correct. Tough, aren't you? Yeah, I am pretty tough. It's my dad, too. Okay, yeah, I'm tired. I don't want to do that anymore. But I will talk. Probably forget about him. He said not to forget about him, but I will. Nice music. No, I don't want to talk to you, game director. I'm very dry today. I have like a dry cough. Yeah, it's funny. I can tell when winter is coming, because Pascal, when I pet him, starts becoming really staticky. Hydrate and sleep? Okay. Thank you for the hydrate. But yeah, every time I, like, pet him, it's just static everywhere. And it's like, yep, it's winter. Oh, wait. Ah! Keep doing that. Ah, I got in the way of his fishing. Heh. X seems like a really powerful move. And doing wonders for me. Anyone have exciting plans for Christmas or any other winter December holiday? I don't know. Actually, I don't know when Hanukkah was this year. I don't know if it happened already. Yeah, I usually pay attention to that, but I didn't. Or anyone celebrate Kwanzaa? Or New Year's plans? I don't know. Good question. You should know that by now. I'm stretching my neck out. It looks really weird on the model. Let's see. Electric. They're probably coming over because our family is in a place where we celebrate Christmas. Ah, okay. Remoraid. Yeah, I don't think in my plan for... I don't have any Pokemon super effective against water. It's a little unfortunate. Ah! Oh, I forgot to do something. I know I just froze. I'll be right back. Like quickly. I keep forgetting to charge my phone when I stream. Ah, there we go. Plug this baby in. My screen time on my phone has been up so much. It's like at like 8 hours now. No, like 7-8 hours. Just because of streaming. That's the average. And like when I saw it initially, I'm like, there's no way I'm spending that much time on my phone. And then I was like, oh wait, I stream with my iPhone. That would do it. That would do it. Yeah. Ah. Lily treats me, mischievous, nicely without being scared. but I will be even scarier from now on. That's just what we mischievous do. Aw. Mischievous doesn't leave any footprints. It's somewhat difficult for me to determine what its thoughts were. I'm actually curious. Absol and BG are too new. If I said there could be friendship between Pokemon and people, would my friends understand? But if you see Lily and me, you will understand. Because Lily and I are friends. And that's what she actually thinks of you. Yay! We got the footprint ribbon. Man, this man's a fake and a fraud. Yeah. How did he know if Mischievous didn't have feet? I wonder, I think it's gonna be the same thing. Some wild Pokemon frown upon others for traveling with humans. They jeer that the caught Pokemon have forgotten the wild. That view is mistaken. They have just never met a trainer who could be a good partner. A great partner like Lily. In other words, I'm gonna cry. Wait. Oh god, that looks awful. Never mind. I'm not gonna cry. Oh wait, no. No. Yeah, it's gonna be the same thing. It's nice that it's not, because I think that's like the same. I think Star and Boy were in my party around the same time. Okay, Infernape. Lily is a remarkable human and trainer. That I can always perform the best any Infernape possibly can. I attribute that entirely to my partner Lily. When we travel, I see wild Pokemon eyeing us enviously. I'm gonna cry! Okay. A honey tree back there. Okay, we're gonna switch that out. There we go. I didn't need to use close combat. I could have used power up punch, but I was feeling a little bit of extra. Just a tad extra. Yeah, extra escalation of violence. Yes, I did. You're correct. Yay, we got a berry! Finally. So we're gonna ignore what we have to do in Pastoria and go to Hearthhome and see if we can battle the gym early. Then the story intends. Just cause I want to. Do Agrippa. I've been taking more note of the berries in Pokemon. They're all based off of real fruit. No, I mean, maybe not all of them, but like a lot of them. I didn't realize the... Oh, Elfie's playing or watching YouTube right now. I didn't realize like how like an orange berry... Yeah, sure, it's blue. It's literally an orange. It's a blue orange. That's what it is. It's an orange. It's an orange berry. Like, I knew some of them were obvious, like cherry berry is based off of like a cherry, right? Yeah, yeah. But pineapple is a pineapple. Yeah, we can, hold on. We can go through this. I only realized it recently, because like, again, cherry berry is really obvious. Pecha berry is just a peach. Yeah, right? Right? Like, they're obvious ones, but it's like all of them. There's some sort of like theme. Yeah, I think it's like one that's almost banana backwards. Nabber. I don't know. Okay, let's go. Let's go through these. Cherry berry is a cherry. Chesto berry is based on a chestnut. Pecha berry is a peach. Raspberry is a strawberry, I think. Yeah, it's a strawberry because if you mix up the letters in Ross, it's straw. It's a strawberry. Asperberry is based on a pear. Orange is an orange. Figgy is based on a fig. Wiki is based on a kiwi. Raspberry is obviously a raspberry. I don't know about a kelpsie berry, honestly. I don't know what that's based on. Let me know if you know what that one is. Maybe it's just based on kelp? Not really sure. Grappa, grapefruit. Probably grapefruit. Not completely sure, but probably grapefruit. Blackberry is probably grapes or blueberries. Nab is banana. Citrus is just a citrus fruit. Like vague citrus fruit. Pineapple is pineapple. This is based on I forgot, there's like, I think it's just either an avocado or not really an avocado. There's like a guava. I think that's a fruit, something like that. Lychee is like the lychee nut. Yeah, they're all based on fruit, which is really funny. Okay, let's see if we can challenge the gym early. Agua, that I gave that one. Yes, correct. I can word. I forgot where the gym was. Am I allowed? By the way, so this gym, yeah, I'm allowed, right? Ah, okay, well, no, no, we have to do story things. Or I'll just procrastinate even more. Yeah. We're gonna go the long way to Victoria. Because I said so. You can only battle the police officers at night, I think. Kelpsie is just kelp? Okay. Okay, cool. Gotta get that double battle in. German name is literally kelpberry translated. Ah! Okay, interesting. But yeah, they're just based on fruit. Which kind of makes sense. Because the whole point of the Pokemon world is that it's like slightly off. You know? Like, you know, all of the Pokemon are based off of things in our universe. Stuff, so. It makes sense. I never noticed the Oranberry. So that was the first one I noticed, like, last week when this was last, yeah, it was last week when I was sick. That was the first one I noticed. How rude of you to use a full restore. Oh dare. Then, cause like obviously again, I knew like the very obvious ones, but Oranberry, I was looking at it and I'm like, wait a minute, that looks like an orange. It's blue, but it looks like an orange. It has like the texture of an orange. And I was like, oh. Oh dear, that wasn't like battling any of my friends. Yeah, cause I demolished you. Bye. Give me all your money. Ass pear. Ass pear. I was thinking I might record some sound notifications. Like RAR XD. Or have an expensive bit one that's Corrin's voice, because everyone seems to love him for some reason. I'm telling you, yeah. Get his voice. I know! Everyone loves him! No one loves me. Ugh, I'm just walking the flowers. No one loves me. Oh, nice. I love double battles. They're so yummy. Yummy, yummy. Get him to say nya or rar and you'll print money. Maybe I'll get him to say rar XD. Or, oh, I'm thinking, I too, okay. The reason I'm angry about it is that I do also find his voice attractive, if you will. I agree. I understand why people shrimp for him. But I'm thinking about like the things I can make him say. Because I am his best friend. I can make him say things. I'm thinking maybe we could have a corn flavored, it's not like I like you or anything. That would be like chef's kiss perfect. That would get me a lot of bits. And it's fine, because people might be like, but you're not sending it to your initial creator. And it's like, I buy him plenty of gifts. It goes to him in some way or another. Play through Golden Deer and have him read Claude's lines. I would literally die if he did that. No. No, no! No, that would make me die! No! I don't want that! I don't want that. My favorite line of Claude's, it's so specific. It's when you eat in the dining hall with him. And he says like, oh, this is my favorite. I don't know why, just the inflection. It makes me weak at the knees. It's so, I don't know, I can't control myself. I would die. I would die. You're gonna catch a Pikachu. Do we need to? No. Am I going to anyway? Yes. Let me actually talk to the master of this house. Actually, it'd be pretty funny if you get your friends to read the voice lines and then play the clips as you do. That would be a lot of work, admittedly. It would be easier if we had people streaming it. Like one person streaming it and we all do it. So like, we could do like a handful of people streaming. So like maybe Quarren, let's say Quarren, Elfie, and Matt, probably. So just the 4 of us. And we could do different characters. So each of us were in charge of certain characters. Never went through since people didn't record their lines on time. Oh. Aw. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What we are gonna do is I've decided for, I think, May, we're gonna do a really super duper long stream of a Midsummer Night's Dream for charity, St. Jude's cancer research. And everyone will voice. There'll be different VTubers and / voice actor, I guess, because Quarren's not a VTuber yet. Yeah, since it's also pretty cool. A lot of coordinating, making sure people are on top of stuff. Yeah, I feel like it'd be better if we did it live. I feel like people would be more engaged. Cause there are a lot of voice lines. I was gonna be Edgeworth. Oh. I don't know anything about Phoenix Wright, so sorry. But yeah, so we're gonna do that. So we're gonna have something like that. Next year. Ah, okay. Interesting. IB. Hi! How's the game going? It's going pretty well, thank you. Welcome, welcome. I'm procrastinating on the story. So I'm doing optional areas. Ah. I'm looking for a Pikachu or a Pichu. I'd be happy with either one, I think. I'd rather Pichu, honestly. Yeah, we're looking for a Pichu, not a Pikachu. I like Pichu better. It's nice to see a fellow dinosaur VTuber. And I'm pretty sure Pichu's not too common in this area. Like uncommon, but not like rare. It should be all good. Stretch out my neck. I haven't been doing that lately. I'm getting kind of sleepy. I mean, I've been sleepy this entire time. But it's sleepy hours. I do not want Staravia. I would like a Pichu. In fact. Oh, don't avoid the attack. Come on, come on. Da, da. Da, da. Ooh, Pyro level 40. Nice, nice, nice. We'll get a Pichu this time, my dudes. Oh my god, I can't believe we got a Pichu. What? I know, I'm just that great. Oh. I'm scared. I don't have a quick ball on me. But I don't want to make it faint, so let's see if that works. Can someone mind clipping that for me? This time we'll get a Pichu. Yeah. Tiny Mouse Pokemon. It plays with others by touching tails and setting off sparks. This appears to be a test of courage. Oh, it's so cute! It's so cute. Now, forever in the box you go. Eventually, we'll train Pokemon. What I want to do with this game, it depends on how much time we have after Arceus comes out. But I want to do a lot with it. I wanna evolve some Pokemon. And like typically I do stuff off stream, but that's what my diamond game is for. Oh hey, I've played that game. Wait. Huh? I'm confused. SP lost. I wanna evolve a lot of Pokemon. But we'll finish the main storyline. It's talked about Pichu touching trail. Yeah, what game? What? I'm very confused. I'm confused. Oh, wait. Oh, I think Wait, no, I don't get it. Wait, no, I do get it. Sorry. Okay. Okay. No, I get it. I'm sorry. That took a while. I was like, what? No, I get you. I understand. He used to do it as a kid. As a courage test. Because you said Game Boy, I'm like, what? Was there like a mini game on one of the Game Boy games? But I played all of the Game Boy Pokemon games, so I was like, I don't... What? What? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to think why. No, I'm so tired I forgot out why I was tired. It was because I didn't sleep well last night. I was like, I had caffeine today. I've been having green tea every day, and I found that the caffeine works a lot better than coffee or black tea does for me. I feel like the other types of coffee just, I don't know, they like linger. Or not linger. Other types of caffeine just like spikes, but green tea lingers, and I like that feeling more. But caffeine doesn't make up for tiredness at all. It just doesn't. perfectly. Sleepy. Mischievous is like catching up almost. Cool. Oh no, it's a fairy type. What are we gonna do? Switch out, that's what we're gonna do. The only thing on my brain is Fruits Basket right now, genuinely. I don't know what's wrong with me. It was super effective. Let's go! Go! I wonder if we will get to the 5th gym today. I doubt it. Almost halfway through the stream. After this, we have to get to... we have to follow a grunt. Chase him down, and then we have to, like, do something for... Cynthia. And that might take too. We'll see where we get. I'm just vibing. I don't really know what I'm doing. Oh, I'm thirsty though. This area is so like long and confusing. I need to make sure that I get everything. Pascal's here. Ah! Oh, okay. He wants on my lap. Hold on. Oh, Pascal. Hey, buddy. Hey, boy. Yeah. Come here. Come here, baby. Now nothing's gonna get done. Pascal. I know he's gonna jump up, so let me just get the Alan anticipate. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. You're such a good. Yep. Now stream ends. Sorry guys. There's a cat here. I can't get anything done if he's here. Sorry. He also wants to vibe. Pascal, do you want to vibe? A vibe too? Oh, yeah, we baby. You're such a good. And he want to vibe. Oh, he's so soft. I love him. He's so cute and soft. Understandable. He's so cute and fluffy, and I love him. He's my purry baby. Love him. If you haven't already, you should join my Discord. Because I sometimes post Pascal pictures, and that's the only reason you should join my Discord. I'm being perfectly honest. He's so cute. Ah, he's so cute. Love you. Pascal. Yeah. He's just the softest. Like, he appears and my brain turns to mush. I don't know. I just love him. I've heard there's another cat somewhere in the depths of that Discord. There are many cats in the depths of that Discord. Charos has a cat. She's very cute. I wasn't paying attention to the Pokemon. Desi is not a cat. Desi's a dog, but that's Theo's dog, which gets posted often. Quern has 2 cats. Well, Quern owns 2 cats, but in his household there are 4 cats. Sometimes we get pics of them. Occasionally Elfie posts her cats and snakes, but she mostly does that in her own server now. I think that's all I know of. Out of my head. So yeah, there are other pet pics. It's the only reason to join my Discord. Oh, well, if you're subbed, we have a sub-only chat. And I need new meat because Theo keeps posting pictures of Garfield. I need more people to suffer with me. Also, the great thing about subbing is in Discord and joining Discord that you get to use the emote. Very neat. Pascal went to his bed now. Yeah, and my emotes, while not all of them right now are sub exclusive, they will be. I'm working on making more emotes, so they will be. Most of them should be exclusive to subs, though. Which is kind of cool. So if you haven't subbed, you should. Haha. You don't have to, though. I'm entertaining y'all for free. What the... You can also join the server to get all sorts of in-depth conversations about the... No! No! No more! No more! No more! No, you... Never sit in a voice call with Corn, okay? Just don't. Just don't do it. Just don't. He's scary. He will scare you. He's sadistic. He's too sadistic. He's sadistic. Oh, I want to Pascal. I'm sorry. Can you come closer? I'm bringing his bed closer to me because I want to pet. Ooch. Fluffy. Lovely. See if I can play this game with one hand. My other hand is busy right now. Okay, he went up on my bed. I've lost him. Goodbye, Pascal. Got shallows. I keep thinking I'm like, I should hydrate and slurp. Okay. I keep thinking I'm like, I should switch out Mischievous, and it's like, well, I don't have any good Pokemon against these types, so I really shouldn't. In fact. My eyes are getting so sleepy. Droopy. I could just close my eyes for like a little bit, right? I need hot chocolate. Wait, I have... Oh, shoot. I'm brilliant. Hold on a sec, though. The stream is gonna be paused for, like, a hot sec. Everyone stay, though. It's just, it'll be, like 2 seconds. First of all, just BRB snack time. I have a snack. Okay, alright, listen here. What color? Let's make this like a red. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. I have an idea. I hope my lifeless body was entertaining for you. Okay, so the snack is more Pocky, but it's not strawberry Pocky. It's matcha Pocky. I've been watching way too much Fruits Basket. Oh my god. So it has a little, like a hint of caffeine in it, so that'll prevent me from falling asleep on stream. Yeah. Oh, that already hit. Oh, so good. By the way, some of the emotes I'm working on, or one of the emotes, I'm working on a chomp emote, because I always eat during stream. I just spam it while I'm munching away. How I usually eat Pocky? Not typically when I'm on stream, but how I usually eat it is I'll scrape off all of the, I was gonna say the sauce, the flavoring. I'll scrape it off with my teeth. Scrape it off with my teeth and then suck on the Pocky stick until it's like kind of soft. Only had strawberry and tasty Pocky before. Hey, what is that supposed to mean? How'd it go? Have fun. Have fun with whatever you're doing. Hey, buddy. I'm surprised Elfie didn't animate that. Oh no, she did animate it. I was like, cause on my screen I was like, that. I'm pretty sure that's an animated emote. Oh, it was like butter or something. I've never heard of butter pocky. Interesting. This should be fine. Second thought. Why not? Oh no! Hopefully Absol breaks through it. I really like how the animation freezes too. Okay, well apparently not. We're not doing that either. Apparently it's a whole wheat and cultured butter stick and... Oh, okay. Interesting. I thought maybe that was the house that we could rest at, but apparently not. Wow, another water type. Who would have guessed? I feel like last time I had green tea Pocky, it tasted a little more bitter. These are really sweet. Much sweeter than I expected. I'm gonna try BG for a while. Oh, you know, it'd be cool if if I got an Xbox and played some games on stream. 'Cause I really want to play Viva Pinata, but they don't have it from PC, which I'm really surprised at this point. I feel like Microsoft would have ported it, but they haven't. Kind of annoying. But I'm gonna take BG out. Yeah. Another Roselia. Little disappointed they didn't have like they didn't use the same marsh background that they have for the Great Oh, I want to use Gust. It's kind of annoying they use the normal like foresty background. I like the Great Marsh background. It looks cool. Oh, I'm stuck. Vespicoin is just standing there like, okay. Yeah, full body mud bath. I'm so toxic. Toxic. Oh, we're getting close to the end of this route, and we're actually gonna have to continue the story. Damn it. I guess over 2 hours. Procrastination is okay. I think that's enough. Really? Not an electric type move? Okay. Micro Ice, thank you for all of the gifted subs. Oh my god. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. And now more people have access to the chaos. Hold on, let me just make sure I update my my server. Hold on. Operations Twitch. Now it's synced. Ah! Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. More people have to suffer. You're sick of it just being a few of us, yeah? They have to suffer with the Garfield. I see. I agree. We have to deal with that Garfield stuff almost every day. It's good. I recognize all of those names. Because we were talking earlier in Elfie's VC about how like sometimes we'll just get gifted subs for like random people. It's like, I don't know who this streamer is. Algorithm, why? Actually get them to streamers I at least clicked on once. Ah, that's fair, that's fair. Oh, so maybe there's someone on the front page. That actually makes a lot of sense. I'm actually almost done with my water bottle. Kind of impressive. You guys are keeping me mucho hydrated. Muy hydrated. It would be muy. Very. Mucho is for now. Making the right decision. I'm so used to farming simulators where it's like the rain will water for us. Okay, we will explore more of that route. I just want to get my free berry from here. Because she gives out the rare berries. Oh, Persum is like permit. There's like a fruit thing that's like not Parmesan, but like, there's so many fruit that I like vaguely know exist. Persimmon! Thank you! Yeah, Persum is a persimmon. I just want that one I can say out loud correctly. Either they're all connected. They're all connected in some way. Oh, we actually haven't talked to all the people in that town yet. We should do that too. Oh, you know it under a different name? What else? I mean, like, I assume the German name, right? Hockey. Oh, I don't know that. This comes out again. Hey. Continue that route. I'm always curious. Like, is there something here? So much easier when I play in handheld. Okay, all three of them really love me. Not what I wanted to do, but... Oh! Oh. Oh, cool. I was wondering, this little area was very suspicious. Like there an entrance up here to another area? I thought there was. Wrong? This is annoying. Oh, the Japanese word is kaki. Oh, okay. Oh my god. If I had one in Japan. I'm not sure. I remember at the dorm we used to play a game in like in the dining hall because our meals were always served with vegetables, right? We'd play a game in the dining hall. It's like, let's see if we can name that vegetable, and most of the time we had no idea what we were eating. I think it's really funny. Mischievous is like above me. Oh, you had one a few days ago. Nice. What does it taste like? Oh, wait. I didn't finish my Pocky. I had one left. It's like, I didn't know passion fruit and maracuja. I don't remember the same thing. Ah. Yeah, now you have a sneaker hood. I have to change my sub badges. I like sneakers. However, I think I'm gonna change them. I also want to change the bit badges too. I really like soccer, however. That doesn't come across well in the stream. Maybe I'll change them to like Pokeballs or something. I think that would be cool. Oh, it's a bit weird in texture? Interesting. They call them parasol ladies, right? But really? They're umbrella ladies, because parasols you don't use in the rain, you use in the sun. It's false advertising. It's very rude. Wait. Why is my model stuck? Like, what? Hold on. Why is my model stuck? Hello? Face tracking. Hello? I guess we're just gonna have to wait this one out. Oh, there we go. I just had to complain about it. I don't know why it does that. You wanted to close your eyes for a moment, right? Yeah, that's totally what happened. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha. Back the short. Not be bothered. Go the long way again. Okie dokie. Now we're like we're gonna talk to everyone in town and then actually continue with the stories. What? Don't just say, hey Lily, that causes me anxiety, please. I don't know. It's 4:17. Ah! You're a sadist. You're so mean. Oh, your clock's off? We should fix that. Quick balls! Oh, wait. 10. Duh. You just don't. Please never just say, hey Lily. That scares me. That scares me a lot. Are you scared? Like, not in like a cute, like, sort of way. In a, like, I could have a panic attack sort of way. Please don't do that. I'm gonna spend all of my money on balls. Are you gonna give me items? Sell all of these. I never use them. Their only purpose is to give me money. Why do you guys like adding bows so much? What, like... I don't really understand why. I just thought it'd be a cute thing. You guys seem to really enjoy it. Once you get enough, it just becomes funny. Oh, I see how it is. Oh, okay. I see how it is. Wait, oh, I can make these. I can make these really small. Oh, they don't stick to my eye. Okay, do you want one too? Is that satisfactory for you? What happens when I close my eyes? Okay. I've discovered something new. I just wanted to see if you'd give me anything. That grunt is who we're gonna have to talk to, I think. I actually found a way to kind of like... You're looking for a Pokemon, but you keep running out of time in the Great Marsh. All you have to do is have a Pokemon in your party with Sweet Scent. Stand in one place that Pokemon will spawn in. And then you can just search for it without being kicked out. I tried that and it worked really well, except I found like maybe 8 or so Carnivines, and I wanted a Carnivine, that's what I was searching for. And they kept running away. So that guy gives you scarves. I don't have any Pokemon that done too well in the contest. Okay, let's talk to you, and then we're finally continuing the story after 2 hours and 18 minutes. Oh, I should read this out loud. You were eavesdropping! Oops, I actually wasn't listening, haha. I was just talking loudly to myself. If I wasn't in a hurry, I'd pulverize you with my Pokemon. But I have to get on my way to the lake ASAP. You're lucky I'm out. Oh, listen up, you. Don't you dare follow me. Okay. I found 3 and caught 2. Oh, I hate... Micro ice! If our plan works, our boss's dreams come closer to fruition. Our boss's ideal world is gonna be created. I'm not gonna waste my time on a nobody like you. I'm telling you now, don't come chasing after me. Oops! Look, it's chat. Oops, hee. I'm not always gonna plow into you every time we meet. So how's it going, Lily? Buffing up your Pokemon, eh? I'll test you and your Pokemon off to see how buff and tough you are. I'm very buff and tough with the bows on my eyes. Theo playing Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I'm surprised Theo isn't here trying to rack up points. Oh, I didn't read who he's calling out next. Ah, this should be fine. Be fine. Should be okay though, I think. Time will pay attention to the next Pokemon he's gonna call out. Do you guys hear a train in the background? I'm sorry, I live near tracks. Oh no, Sunspore. Unfortunate, but we can still move. Be slow. Micro Ice, let me know what you want. Like instead of in exchange for Carnivine, let me know. Ekans. I don't have it. Wait, Ekans isn't in the Pokedex. Ekans isn't in the Pokedex. Wait. Hold on. Derby. Sinnoh Pokedex. Ekans. Nope, it's not in the Sinnoh Pokedex. I forgot what Pokemon. Oh, rip. Okay. Boy should come out. Very much so. Here. Okay, I'll put a link for you. Okay? This is where you can check the Pokemon in the Sinnoh Pokedex. I'm tired. I don't know if y'all can tell. Oh, don't learn toxic. I don't want any of my Pokemon to be toxic. I defeated chat. What just happened? You're telling me I lost? Yeah, I am. Hey, maybe it did get a bit tougher since last time. That even shocked me a bit, so yeah, I got a beat because I was careless. So hey, what was that Team Galactic guy all freaking out about? I don't know what he's up to, but you should chase him down. If you're not a Pokemon and you run like that, you're a bad guy. Alright, Lily, next time I'm holding you back. I'm not holding back. I'm holding you back. That'd be a funny one. Okay, the list I looked up before was super wrong. Oh, interesting. We needed the energy from Valley Windworks to make this. It would take a scientific genius to make something like this, therefore our boss who made this is a scientific genius. God, you're eavesdropping! I was just thinking out loud, you persistent pest. I'm getting tired of running away, but I'm not gonna waste my energy knocking you around. Oh no, the timers have lined up. It's hard to get the math right for them not to line up. Why am I running like this? A new universe the boss was talking about. Giving me goosebumps thinking about it, so we used the... You're eavesdropping! I was only talking to myself. You're persistent too. I'm pooped out from all that running, but I'm not gonna battle you. Ah, sucker. Yeah, you are. Oh no, you're still on my tail. The lake's within sight. You leave me no choice. My Pokemon will knock you out. Not eavesdropping if you're screaming it in public. You're right, Hood. This person is dumb enough to join a cult, so... I'm gonna rob a bank. You're under arrest. Fucking eavesdroppers, man. Actually, let me get my nerd voice out. It's actually an invasion of privacy. I'll have you know. Eavesdropping should be like... There you go. That was my nerd voice. I have to get this to the commander. I wish I got to use it at the lake. Oh, hello, long time no see. How's the Pokedex filling up? I came to research the folklore about the lake, but... Well, it doesn't appear as if the lake is open to public right now. Have you heard the folklore about it? They say this is there's an island inside the lake, and that a mysterious Pokemon resides there. No one must enter the chamber of the Pokemon. Sorry to change the subject, but have you seen the group of Psyduck on Route 10? Yes, that's right, by the cafe on Route 10. You've seen the group of Psyduck cuddled with their heads in their hands? Anyway, you should use this medicine on the Psyduck. You're working on the Pokedex, so it'd be worthwhile for you. I went on a big adventure with the Pokedex when I was younger. It may help you uncover the secret behind mysterious Pokemon you're searching for. I hope you get to meet every kind of Pokemon there is to see. See you later. We're using this secret medicine to cure their headaches. Their aches and pains. Oh goodness, use the secret medicine I gave you. Psyduck are known to suffer from chronic headaches. But no one's been able to figure out what triggers their headaches. Oh yes, can I ask you a big favor? I want you to deliver this old charm to my grandma in Celestic Town. I know there are some rare Pokemon between here and Celestic Town, so it'd be worth your while to go. Wait, what Pokemon? Huh? the Pokemon? It's Pokemon. Earth. Snow. I think it's north. Not particularly. Oh, there aren't. She's lying. My grandma has this sort of bossy air about her. I think we'll recognize her right away. Yeah, I'm sure you will. She's the elder of Celestic Town. As for the location, look on your town map. You can't miss it. I'm counting on you. See you again down the road. I think we're gonna try to aim to actually beat the 5th gym today. Warm-up exercises. The Geodude. Oh wow, there are a lot of Pokemon. They keep spawning. We should be able in an hour and 30 or so. We should be able to drop off the medicine and at least get to the gym. I don't want pain. Sometimes it can be useful. There's gonna be a trainer right here. There you go. I'm psychic. Totally didn't see the little bump in the grass. Oh, I remember the cloud line I liked. I couldn't quite remember if it goes like, this is my favorite. Do you like it too? And the do you like it too part is what makes me weak at the knee. Fun fact. I very much like Cloud. And once I get sick of Pokemon games, we might play some Fire Emblem Three Houses. Let me check another thing. I want to see what level mystery this involves that. If it is just a dusk stone, because I think it is a dusk. Yeah, it's just a dusk stone. And I can evolve it at any time. But a good level would be 55, so probably be in my party for a bit. Actually, probably until the end of the stream, because then I'll at least put Ponyta in my party again. Because the gym after 5, the steel type. If you have a haunter, I'll take that. Otherwise, just trade me anything. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can get you a haunter. That's fine. Wait. When you say a haunter, do you want a haunter with like an Everstone kind of feel, or like is a Ghastly okay, or do you want like specifically a Gengar? Like, cause it evolves while trading. So I need to know if you want which one you want. Like I can give you a haunter and then it evolves into a Gengar when we. That'll probably be an off-stream thing, just because I want the Carnivine in my Diamond game. I don't care so much in this game. Okay, yeah, no, it's totally fine. That's fine. Ghastly are really easy to find too. Good. Great. That reminds me, I did a giveaway on my channel when I was playing Sword and Shield of a shiny Pokemon. And Sai is the only one who entered? Wait! How don't I have defog? How do I not have defog? Defog, Pokemon shiny. Because I have the gym badge for it. Oh, okay. This is annoying. Alright. Apparently, I have to go all the way back here. Maybe we won't get that gym badge today. Apparently, I have to go to the Great Marsh. I don't think I have a Wooper yet, so it won't be a complete race. But catching stuff. Okay. Okay. Up. Okay, no useful Pokemon today. So let's try to catch an Azumarill and a Wooper. Azumarill's a little hard. Or Azurill, not Azumarill. Azurill. Azurill's a little difficult to catch, but not impossible. I just got rid of Sweet Scent too, I think. Scent, thinking I wouldn't need it. Ah! Sweet Scent even come in a TM? At least try to catch a Wooper. Okay. Get in the Pokeball. Okay. Luckily they're not. Luckily they're easy to find, so I don't care if it runs away. per se. I really hate I hate that. It makes catching so difficult. It really does. Oh, a Meryl. Ah, I'm okay with the Meryl. Try to catch this one. Critical capture. Nice. Fun fact, critical captures don't always work. All they do is increase the likelihood that it'll work. The Aqua Mouse Pokemon, the tip of its tail is filled with oil that is lighter than water, so it acts like a float. Just make it hard to dive. Curveball, what? It's a critical capture. Well, okay, you know, I'm gonna catch the Azurill if I can. So, it's a critical capture. Is basically when you have a lot of Pokemon in your Pokedex, you have a likelihood of throwing critical capture. Helps raise the chance of you catching a Pokemon. I tend to get it fairly often, just because I doing the Pokedex is like my thing. Doing the live Pokedex really helps with it, too. There's a Wooper. So I don't have nearly as many Pokemon in this game than I do in Diamond. Diamond game, I have a lot. Don't flee. Fall. Oh, there's another one. You can tell it's a critical capture because it has a little shake. The waterfish Pokemon. When the temperature cools in the evening, they emerge from the water to seek food along the shore. That is all. I dislike the marsh. It makes me a little anxious on. Water box. There you go. Now there should be someone. Head to the right and find an NPC. Right. Oh, wait, it's I think in the marsh. Oh, I have to pay another 500. Ugh. All because I can't read direction. Yup. There it is. There it is. Okay. Okay. Now we can continue on with the story. Honestly, there's an easier way for me up there. now, we don't have to be blind anymore. I remember when I first played through the games, I was so stubborn. I thought Defang was such a useless move. I refused to teach it. Genuinely. So I had a guidebook. I still have the guidebook actually, that has the map of the area, and I just kind of stumbled through it that way. Bug and poison switch. BG. I also mean I went through the dark cave without flash in 10-1. Oh, I did that too. Yeah, flash was another one. I skipped out on. Yeah, it's essentially the same mechanic, just one's black and one's white. Fog versus darkness. Mystery, this. I don't know why I was in this one. No, I'm really excited. Eventually, I'm saving up right now for a live to do model. It's gonna take like a year or two, probably. But I'm excited because in that time, the hand tracking with webcams is gonna get so much better. With live 2D, I'm like really excited. Because I've seen some people even playing around with hand tracking on like guitars and ukuleles, and I think that's really cool. I'm sleepy. Is anyone else sleepy? I assume anyone who's in Europe still here is probably getting sleepy right about now. And now BG again. Yeah. I don't have a sleepy. I feel like that's another one I should have. Alas, there are not enough slots. I feel like that one would be good on stream, but not necessarily in the Discord. Because again, I'm trying to do Discord only and stream only. Yeah, I was actually before the stream. One of the reasons I was late is I was drawing an emote, but I didn't really like, I rushed it because I wanted to finish it before the stream. I rushed it, so I think I'm gonna redo it and really take my time with it. I want to work on improving my emotes. Now that I'm doing commissions, I want to give it my all on every single one, even if they're just for me. Yay, double battle, yummy yummy. Double battle. Daichu and Gyarados. I knew someone in college. She dropped out. We all kind of hated him. I knew someone in college who didn't play Pokemon, but wanted to impress a girl who liked Pokemon. So he did some research and started, like, talking about it with her, as if he had played the games, right? He pronounced Gyarados Gyarados. Gyarados. And I can't get over that. Again, we all hated him. He was a terrible person. So funny. Yeah, Gyarados. Well, I'm okay with that. There you go. Bye-bye, Daichi. No! I forgot that Gyarados had bite. No. And... 2-star. Looked out my window just now and got flashbanged by the sun. Oh, it's dark here. Oh, you still got sunlight? In Tejas? Yeehaw! It still got sunlight? We haven't had sunlight in a while. A little too much at the wrong angle, that's fair. There we go. Teamwork. What's gonna work? Teamwork. What's gonna work? Teamwork. I think me knowing that song dated me. That was a dox. I just doxed myself. There is only a certain age group that knows that song. I know. I mean, but everyone knew I was American anyway. American thing. American. Was the Pokemon? Yeah. I was on the right track. PG. I'm so glad she made that image shape. It's so good. It's so accurate. Yeah, I might get rid of the question emote. Not like a sticker-wise or anything, but I think for Twitch, what I might do is get rid of like the question mark part of it. And then just do the animated loading, the buffering symbol. I think that would be funny. It was made for the shaker. It really was. Oh, nice. don't have anything with the ground type. Ah, who cares? I'll send out Pyro. I feel like I haven't used Pyro much. I'm kind of focusing on leveling up the others. Let's turn it this way. Oh yeah, they're not like on my eyes. Discord is starting to ping me every... Oh. Ping you for what server? Or just all of them? That's the problem. Is it just all of them? Oh. Oh, that's annoying. I'm so sorry you have to deal with that. My condolences. I should have seen that coming. I actually didn't see that one coming, admittedly. I should have, but I didn't. Oh, it's a poison type. Yes. On it. Is it that everyone mentioned? No, because that would give you a notification. But the issue is that there's like the ping sound. That's the issue. Also, welcome back, Toby. Ball, awesome. Hi. Yeah, hi. Yeah, Discord do be wildin'. Also, if you notice, Toby, since you have lurked, there are bows on my eyes. Yeah, so should I... Oh, you know what? You know what? This is a great idea. Hold on. Oh, look, they're on my eyes. I can't be healthy. Oh, it's fine. Look, they're floating off of my eyes. They're like glasses from Pose. Hold on. I'm gonna do a poll. Okay. Can I answer? Yeah. Question. What should replace the crystals? Nothing. No leak. I will. I'm clearly typing a poll, and you gotta do this to me. Okay, we get a little one on my nose. Little nose bow. What we get. Colby! Why are all of you like this? Wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I added a 1, 2, 3, 4. Having the bow on my nose makes me look like a who, and I don't like that. Just make sure. Kieran! Oh my god, thank you for the raid! Hi! Hold on a second. Can we get a mod to shout out? Welcome raiders. I'm Pyro Lily. I'm a Pyroraptor. I usually don't have many this bows on my head, but chat's having a fun time today. Hold on, and I'm making a poll, which they're trying to distract me from. No! Stop it! I'm trying to make a poll, please! I can't even see chat right now. Okay, we got another one. Okay, nothing. Feather. Pyro colored. Oh, okay. No! Cloud Kieran! No! Don't become one of them. I don't even know. This is streamer abuse. Okay, let me catch up on chat. Alright, welcome raiders. Welcome. Haha, they're cute. Another one. Okay. Oh, thank you for the like. I did have one on my nose already. I did, but it made... No, I don't want that one at the time. But it made me look like a who. And I don't... That's not my brand. No. So alas, I'm sorry. Okay. So, make sure you guys vote. I love the one attached to my tail, because like, it's very clearly attached in some way, just not in a way that I can perceive correctly. Yeah, it's funny though. It is funny. I'm glad I'm entertaining for y'all. How was your stream, by the way? Yeah. It's really funny because like I'm a 3D model, right? So then when I turn, like especially like the big one, let's see if I can turn. It's like I have a cardboard cutout on my head. Crow gunk. Ooh, that'll be good. I did a move. Have fun. Just got through Victory Road. Next week we're gonna fight the Elite Four. Nice. I spent the first 2 hours of this stream procrastinating and avoiding the story. Last stream I beat the fourth jump. We're just vibing. It's Legend of Arceus is gonna come out and I'm still not gonna be done with this game. We're having a good time. Kinda wanna cancel tomorrow, not cancel tomorrow's stream, but like instead of game dev, do just play this game again. But alas, I will do it. Not me forgetting to hit end stream. Oh, I got that. Okay, so feather one. Alright, I'll try to draw a feather. No I'm gonna say no promises that I'll get it done. It's just not necessarily timely. Because the holidays. You know. I'm taking technically 1 day off for the holidays. I usually don't stream on Saturday. Well, no, I'm taking 2 days off because I'm taking like a little break from 24th to the 26th. Spend time with family. Oh. This side view. good. That'll be good. Yeah, although, okay, I say it's to spend time with family. Most of that time is gonna go into, I'm working on a bathroom renovation right now. Knocked out. So it'll be doing that. I've been scraping wallpaper off a wall, and it's glued on pretty well. So it's been kind of annoying. So I'll spend some time with my family, but that's the majority of what I'm gonna do. Oh dear. I signed up for it! I thought it would be a good idea. I thought it would be easy, because like the wallpaper was peeling already. So I was like, it kind of looks ugly. So I want to get rid of it, and it's been months. I'm getting close to getting all the wallpaper off, and there are a lot of mysterious holes in the wall that I can't really explain. So I gotta patch those up, and then painting's easy. I'm really good at painting walls. I haven't tried that. I don't have a hairdryer though. I don't like using heat on my hair, so I've never really needed one. But what I do, because like if I just use a scraper, it's like it's impossible, right? It's absolutely impossible. I have a concoction of water and fabric softener, 50-50. And what it does is it softens the wallpaper, and it helps me get it off. So I score the wallpaper, so like not zigzag, diagonally scoring the wallpaper, and then I use fabric softener, and I wait like 2 to 3 minutes, and then I peel. I like scrape it off with a scraper, and most of it comes off typically, but there'll be like in certain spots the glue is like really there, really stuck. So in those instances I'll just do another round, and I'll keep continuing that until it's all done. Oh, it's not creative thinking. I found it on the internet. Although they said 70-30, but I found that doesn't work. 50-50 works best for me. Yeah, dish soap with water works too. I like the fabric softener because I don't use fabric softener. And I had some extra, and I was like, well, I might as well use this up. Because I don't like using it on my clothes. There's a lot of laundry stuff that's just completely unnecessary. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get to use it all. Yeah, like dryer sheets. My clothes never make enough static to like warrant dryer sheets, you know? And I actually hang most of my clothes. Anyway. And like, I've been noticing, okay, I'm like a huge Pinterest person. I use Pinterest a lot. That like, and a lot of people will like, they'll show like their laundry room organization, which looks really pretty, right? But they'll have like detergent, and then they'll have like Woolite. So like they'll have Tide, and then they'll have Woolite, and then they'll have Tide Pods. And they have their dryer sheets, and then they have their fabric softener, and then they have these little bead things that apparently make it smell good, and it's just like, why? Why? So, literally all you need is the detergent. That's all you need. A lot of extra laundry stuff gives me hives anyway. My skin's really bad. Oh, that's fair. Yeah, no, me too. I have pretty sensitive skin. Most laundry stuff's fine. I typically do Woolite over Tide though. It's just like, why do you have this much money? Like, what? Or how do you have this much money? That's the question. It's like, why are you spending it all on laundry stuff? Like, what is the point? Like, detergent smells like clean clothes anyway. So, like, why do you need, like, what? So stupid. It's so stupid. I don't understand it. I don't. this. It's just so unnecessary. So I love the bow that's stuck on the tail. There's an odd spaceman in front of the ruins. There isn't anything there, but that only seemed to make him angry. He's saying he'll blow up the town with a bomb. The nerve of it all. If only I were younger, I'd punish the spaceman with my Pokemon. Well, I'll do it in a bit. I think when I rated you, I messed up because I'm not hosting you apparently. Oh no, it's okay. I appreciate it though. I appreciate the sentiment anyway. The fact that the store doesn't sell like apricot balls is it's really bumming me out. It should. I know that was a Johto thing, but okay, no, I'm just silly. Oh yeah. Yeah, shouldn't it host automatically? Oh, the Pokemon Lake does have a few. Interesting. Go into the big house. Yeah, like the... No, that's not what I'm talking about. Those aren't apricot balls. Apricot balls are specific to Johto. In some games you can get like one each. They're made with apricorn. I call them apricots. They're apricorns, I think. Basically, you collect these berry-like things that aren't berries, and then you give it to this old dude, Kurt. And he makes a Pokeball for you. So those Pokeballs include the Love Ball. Oh yeah, Moonballs, yeah. So Moonball, Love Ball, Love Ball. There's like a Lure Ball, Heavy Ball, yeah. Yeah, Heavy Ball's in there. There's one more, I think. Oh, the Quick Ball. Not like the Quick Ball, it's like the Fast Ball, I think. Where it's like, it catches Pokemon that are fast. Yeah, I'm gonna mess with this. Yeah, Fast Ball. I think that was all of them. There should be like 6. I don't know. But yeah, those. The only one I ever ended up really using, like sometimes the Moon Ball, but mostly the Lure Ball, honestly. None of the others are really worth it. Maybe sometimes the Fastball I would use on like the Legendary Trio. Yeah, that too. Fun fact, I keep reminding Corn of this. If Corn was a Pokemon, he'd be a Croagunk. Just everything about a Croagunk would be Corn. I can't really explain it. Fun fact. Huh. So I got a Corn and yes, you do. You should name him Corn. Wait, who'd be a Croagunk? Corn. Corn is, Manager. I was gonna say my mod. I mean, he is my mod, but he's like my manager. Not paid though. That's volunteer work. Still don't get it, but I won't complain. Whatever, I'm out of this one-horse town. There's nothing to do here anyway. Oh, there he be. Yes, that is the corn. Well, aren't you quite the trainer? That was magnificent. As the elder of... As the elder of Celestic Town, I'll give you my thanks. Oh, the old charm? May I see that, dear? What's that? You said Cynthia entrusted you with it to deliver to me. That's Cynthia. She's my granddaughter. Over the old charm to the elder. I usually don't name Pokemon, but now I'm tempted to call him Corn 104. That's really funny. So the cloning started up again. No! Since you're in Celestic Town, why not have a look inside the ruins? I don't really have a choice. You examine the ancient cave painting. The mysterious design covers a whole section of the wall. There are three strange things forming a triangle. In the middle of them is a shiny sphere. What is that all about? Cave painting reminds me of an old story. There existed a being so powerful it was considered a deity at the time. Opposing this being were three Pokemon. Three kept balance with the one, as if they formed a triangle. Oh, it's kind of like the Triforce. Ah. Okay, it's an ancient legend of Sinnoh that is told to this day in Celestic Town. But yeah, I found something useful. You should take this. They belong to my granddaughter, but she's not using them. Surf! Very useful. Very good. Joke's on you. This was a Legend of Zelda game all along. Yeah. But the Legend of Zelda Triforce comes from actually Japanese myth. I don't know if it's called the Triforce though. But isn't it like the mirror, the sword, and the shield? I think. There appears to be an insignificant struggle here. Everyone should step back and view things from a bigger perspective. Yes, a bigger perspective. One that is on the universal scale. My name is Cyrus. I seek the power to create a new world, a world without strife. Well, Lily, I hope it's okay to call her that. Yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna lie down. Oh, thank you! Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Go rest. Streaming's hard. Go chill out. Ah, the three sacred treasures. Yes, those. But they each represent a thing. Seek the power to create a new world, a world without strife. However, that power seems to be unavailable here. We've met before, yes? It was at Mount Coronet. If you discovered any power derived from the Legend of Sinnoh, inform me. For that power is what I need to create my new world. They're objects intended to confirm the divinity of the royal family. Bye, Croagunk Corn. Ah, I'm trapped. Okay. Now we can beat the gym. Cool. And we have 30 minutes to spare, really. Although the gym's gonna take us a while because I'm gonna get every question wrong so I can battle all of the trainers because I have absolutely no chill. Fun fact. But I will try to not look up the answers like I did in my diamond gear. That I just looked up the map of it. Da 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 da. I don't know what Jet said that they beat this gym before Pastoria. Is that? I mean, actually, you know, I think that would be possible. They still did all of that stuff first. They got to the city first. They just didn't beat the gym, I think. Maybe? No. Okay. What is 3 plus 5 plus 7? That would be 15. So this is the right answer, but we're not gonna do that. Do you have a poke catch, or did you screw up deliberately? The world may never know. I really like the background for this gym. It looks cool. As long as my mystery of this is faster than the rest of them, I should be okay. It should be easy peasy. It's hard though because ghost type is super effective against ghost type. So I just need to make sure I hit first and KO them. The reason I'm doing this, genuinely, is because I want money. But I don't know if you can battle the gym trainers after you defeat the gym leader. I'm not really sure. Mine's faster. Yeah, so I would just wanna get it all of them done. It's 40. I hope. I'm trying to do these all in my head. I'm a big brain dinosaur. I can do math. And 40 was the middle one. Oh, I'm running out of space, guys. I like the big... Is this gym how they justified the calc feature? No, I mean... I actually use the calc feature sometimes. When I look up egg steps, I see like how many times I have to go through like the egg hatching route. So it's easier for me to count. Why would I switch out? That'd be stupid. I'm gonna probably have to use a few Lepa berries. I'm just gonna go through Hex real quick. Alfie is watching YouTube again. So I think if I remember correctly, it was the middle one, so this should be another trainer. We're gonna have to do some healing because Drifloon has Aftermath, I think, as an ability. Oh, I guess it was just Drifblim then, maybe? I think Skunk Tank and Drifblim have the Aftermath ability, but I thought Drifloon did too. God, I don't know why. I just want to watch Fruits Basket. Whew. I don't know. It's the only thing on my mind. Also, tomorrow we're doing game dev. I'm gonna start another project because I don't like the ferret game idea. What I'm essentially going to do is I'm gonna copy Pokemon Red. That is. I'm gonna do my own Pokemon game. It's gonna be very bare bones, and I'm gonna try to copy the mechanics almost exactly. Mostly because I want to save time. I don't want to have to think about it. I'm not a designer in any way, so I just want to do a demonstration of mechanics. So I'm gonna do almost exactly like Pokemon. I'm also gonna copy the art too, but I'm not publishing this. It is just for demonstration purposes. You know, I'm not gonna copy the art exactly, but I'm definitely gonna trace. I'm just letting you guys know that now. Wait. Okay, so the answer is the left one. It's 39. I think. Put those. Wait, do I even have any Lepa berries? I don't know. Okay, I have 2 left. Okay, which one was it? 39. I'm so used to having an abundance of berries. I guess I don't. Let them be drowned by someone who hasn't played Pokemon just by reading the description. Oh, the Pokemon itself, like the monsters, those I'll make up on my own. I'm talking about this, like the sprites, like the house sprites and all stuff. It's gonna be like traced. Like the main character is gonna still look like me. But it's gonna be a pixel version of me. If that makes sense. But there's gonna be some, like, it's just gonna be like real, like, there's just like houses and stuff. And like the other NPCs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have, thinking about it, I'm gonna have all the other NPCs just be VTubers, because that's easy for me. It'd be fun to draw them. And the Pokemon, because I'm obsessed with Fruits Basket and I won't shut up about it, the Pokemon, the monsters, will be the 13 Zodiac, so the 12 Zodiac plus the cat. But like, I probably won't start out making evolutions for them, but I'll do like monsters based off of those animals. In spirit, ha ha ha. Yeah. Oop. I wonder. Oh my god, that did a lot more than I thought it would. Unfortunate. Okay, that didn't do too much. Yeah, Mischievous is like single-handedly taking over the gym. Actually, I want to check something. I think I had Mischievous is, yeah. I want to see. Oh, it learns Shadow Ball at 41. Because I have the TM for Shadow Ball, and I can get early. The next move it learns is Payback. But that's at 37, and I don't think we're close to 37. Oh, we are, in fact. I wasn't even paying attention. Wow. I'm gonna binge Fruits Basket tonight so I can actually understand the weird shit that goes on. You should! Wait, why is my model frozen? What? Why does it keep doing this? There we go. I think this is maybe the last room? Set of rooms? Answer is 15. Yeah, this is the last set of rooms. So there's this trainer, another trainer, and then the gym leader. You think so? But it doesn't with... Sometimes it'll freeze without the bows too. I don't know. I don't know. There's only one way to find out. No! No! Don't do it! Oh my god. You did it. I'm gonna add another one to the tail. 3? Why are you... Four! Ah. Are you happy now? Are you guys satisfied? You guys are too much. Like a person who fell into a big box of those stick-on bones. Yeah. Colby! I thought you were gonna lurk. Colby! Oh, wow. Huh. It stuck to my shoulder, not my hair. I lied. Kinda deserved that, didn't I? Gotta stop mouthing off like that. Yeah. Give me all. Give me all. Good enough for the power team as well. You should save up your points. I thought you were saving up for that. It's not like I like you or anything. Okay. Okay. If you say so. We only have a few times left with the bow. You're right. Thank you for the redeem. You know, the bow isn't the only Christmas asset I have. Fun fact. That? Once. I don't think I've used this, but I also have this one. And I have this one. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it like that. We got 20 minutes left in the stream. Let's have a good time. Peak performance, you are correct. This is peak performance. Finally, you have arrived. Since I came to this region, I always try to learn new things. They hold contest shows in this city. I say to myself, effin', I will excel. That is why I dress up this way. That's un performance. Also, I study Pokemon very much. I have come to be a gym leader. And, so it shall be that you challenge me. What is she, from Kalos? But I shall win. That is what a gym leader does, no? Ha ha ha! Wee wee. Ooh. Nice. I think I'm gonna keep it for Gengar, but we switch it out to Absol a little later. Ooh, Confuse Ray. It's gonna be a roughie. I'm glad that Hex is a special move, so the burn doesn't affect it. Oof. Unfortunate. Come on, Mischievous, you can do it. Ooh, Shadow Claw, no! The burn's gonna kill it. No, my baby! It's a great thing I'm not doing a Nuzlocke. Oh, damn. And bye-bye. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You did so well. And now we demolish. Yeah. Oh, I do want a saluting emote too, but I don't know. I don't know if I might do saluting instead of a wave one. Yeah, I know. It's so sad. Oh, cheap. As cheap. That's also cheap. Ha! Despite the berry, still one hit. Wow. Yeah, instead of... Nah. I don't want fire spin. Already. not gonna even bother. We're just gonna finish it. Ooh, confused red. And we're gonna switch up the. Oh, by the way, what's the cat doing? The cat. Oh, he's on my bed right now. He was out. He was on my lap for a little bit before. And then he went to his bed, and then he went to my bed. Yeah, he's a good boy. Good lad. Nice. Lots of level ups. Hoi! You are so fantastically strong. I now know why I have lost. A majestic man sleeps wherever he decides. Yeah, pretty much. So very strong. You and your Pokemon so strong. Your power's admirable. It shall be honored with this gym badge. Oh, you see, I've been neglecting my gym badges. Oopsies. Yeah, they're a little dirty. A little dirty. Don't bonk me! Come on, I only played this game on stream and I've been sick. Wait, actually, I want to see if there's a teleport. Can I teleport? Do I have to just go all the way back? No way to teleport. Ah. Okay. Gotta keep them fresh. Fine, I'll do it before stream from now on if I remember. That'll make y'all happy. Otherwise, you get the bonk. Are you guys happy I made that emote? I think it turned out really cute. I could have made the eyes bigger, I think. Bonk, 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 bonk. I'm glad. I'm so glad to see you. You're not very easy to track down. My grandma told me. I love how you squished that one. Grandma told me about what took place in Celestic Town. Thank you for what you did for the ruins. But that Team Galactic, though, they were just a bunch of eccentrics, you know? Talking about how they're gonna make a new universe and all that. In a weird way, they dress too. I thought they were harmless. It appears that they're a lot more trouble than I thought. I mean, stealing and hoarding Pokemon? That's just plain wrong. By the way, did you find the ruins interesting at all? If you did, you may want to visit the library in Unalive City. They have some ancient books that you might find interesting. Also may be of help to your completion of the Pokedex. I think you have to go there. Okay, bye-bye now for now. Which is so good. It makes it so much funnier. Okay. Yeah, I've never actually done them on an emote before. Mischievous, go bye-bye. I'll update. This Mischievous is for my other game. But I don't remember if I caught the Murkrow. Absol, also go bye-bye. Feel fair. Yeah. Okay, so we're steel type. We want some fighting. So I think meta type. Good. It's gonna be some repeat Pokemon in my party. Repeat typing it. That's right. I'm gonna fix this. Meditate. And then I'm probably gonna put Ponyta back in my... Ponyta. Gonna move that out of the way. Alright, oh, I mean, we could do a Magby. Also, Pascal is here. The boy is back. Boy is back. Boy is back. Okay, cool. Hey, you want on my lap, buddy? Want to be on the lap? Come on up here, buddy. Good boy. Okay, there's a boy on the lap. I repeat, there's a boy on the lap. The man, the myth, the legend, Pascal. Oh, I love you, buddy. You're my boy. I say Corn's my best friend. I hate to be weird, but honestly, I think my cat's my best friend. Oh, you know, I should have given Mystery Vista Spooky Plate. Sorry. I'm just being honest, replaced by a cat. He's vibrating on my... Oh, I need a new Pokemon to follow me around. Feels bad, man. Ellis, how you feeling, buddy? What's going on? Cat. Cat. I love this cat. Like a fluffy baby boy. We got 6 minutes left. Let's make the most of it. Let's keep playing. Typically, I'd just stop at the gym, but no, we got 6 minutes. Maximize the time as much as we can, and by that, we're gonna play the lottery. That's maximizing our time. I'm also being chased by a horse. 6 minutes full of work. Yes. Or gambling. It's free gambling. It's fine. I didn't get a match. Okay, well, it was short-lived gambling. Press X to doubt. Oh, actually... I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna swap out. We're gonna go fishing for a Finneon. Then, oh, no, just yawned. Boy, I wanna make sure that I have a good rod. Okay. No. I want the shortcut. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, thank God, I was petting Pascal. Oh, great. Wonderful. Love to see it. It's a Magikarp. Pascal is just so huggable. I love him. Ow, that's a claw though. I don't like claws, buddy. No claw. Mr. Claw. No. Just power. Fine, right? Yes. Good baby boy. I don't think we're gonna catch one. The 3 minutes we have left. I also need to find someone to raid. Oh, I don't want to choose Fury Swipes. Oh, rip. Level 23 and it hasn't evolved? That's so strange. Evolved. Scout, he's so huggable. I get brainworms when he's on my lap. I just want to squish him and hug him. He's cute. Cute kitty. Baby. Baby lab. Hey, baby. Ah, I keep pressing the wrong one. I'm so used to the only one I really use often is the bike. Let's power up fun. Oh, is someone getting up? Getting up, buddy? Are you gonna block the camera again? Block the camera? Yeah, if I start being frozen, it's because he blocked the camera. Pascal is a streamer now. Pascal is a streamer. Yeah, you are. Don't put your butt in my face. Come on, bud. You know better than that. He's going to his little bed now. So he has like a scratching post with like a bed on top. And I always put that next to my desk. So he doesn't want to be on my lap. He can not next to me. If I'm doing something, he can still feel close to me. The wingfish Pokemon. The way its two tails flutter while it swims has earned it the nickname the Beautiful Eye of the Sea. And just at 6 o'clock too. Haha. Into the box. We've done it. Few things. Swap. Okie dokie. I'm gonna turn this off. We're going to go to just chatting. Need to make sure my Switch. Wow, I look ridiculous. Oh my god. Oh my lord. Hi. Okay, so, like hold on, I gotta put this back. Why isn't this going back? This is so weird. There you go. Okay. Like I said before, tomorrow we're doing some game dev. At the same time, 2 p.m. EST, that is, I can do math, 7 p.m. GMT. We'll do some game dev, probably mostly art, admittedly. I'll be tracing and copying art. And maybe implementing walking for the billionth time. Because I still need to practice how to do that. So, Yeah, and then next Pokemon stream is gonna be Thursday, same time, 2 p.m. It's gonna be here on Twitch. Both of them are gonna be here on Twitch. Yeah. Okay, so let's find someone to raid. Which... Oh, I know exactly who to raid. I had a friend who's kind of had a rough time lately, so we're gonna raid her. Yeah, lurking is still great though. And I'll start trying to work on those feathers for you. I'll probably do one feather and then have it point different ways. Okay. Okay, and we're gonna do Pyro Raid. There we go. Bye bye.